Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Today, I'm with Coach Moichael Dill. He is a fellow action coach. He is down in Florida. Us in the Northeast Ohio area probably cannot relate to warm weather, at least not yet this time of year, but we'll get there. Wanted to get a chance to have a really interesting, candid conversation with another coach so people get an understanding of what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and some of the results that we get out of being just a coach for other people to kind of lean on and take value out of. So, with that, I'm going to turn the microphone and the camera over to Coach Moichael and let him introduce himself. So, Coach, the microphone and camera are yours.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, I became a coach with Action Coach 14 and a half years ago, going on 15 years. How about that? 54 years old, just got laid off from a consulting position out of Pennsylvania. Started thinking I was always in control of my income based on my effort and output, but never actually signing my own paycheck. And here I was
Mhm.
out of a job, walking the streets of Florida thinking, and I found this little article in a success magazine. And here it was, Action Coach. Did my due diligence, and here I am. And I have to say, Scott, it has been the best business life-changing decision I ever made, period, outside of marrying
Okay.
my
Okay.
wife.
We'll talk about this decision a little bit. I'm curious, how does somebody like yourself go about making that decision? You made the due diligence effort, you did a little bit of research, but what was it about this world that attracted you so that you would take a dive and 15 years later you're still at it?
Here, it's interesting question, and everybody talks about when you get clear on your why, the how is easy. And I was blessed that a day I was taking a walk because anytime there's a decision that I need to make, a tough decision that I take a walk to let it filter through.
Mm,
And I was taking a walk that particular day, and I have a series of questions I ask myself. It's actually from Tony Robbins in 1990 when I did his 30-day personal power program. So that kind of dates how old I am. And the first question is, what am I happy about? And as I start taking my walk, have you ever asked yourself a question that the answer came immediately that you didn't even have to think
mm.
about?
Oh yeah.
I asked myself, what am I happy about? And the answer was, I'm happy that I believe I found my calling. And I kept repeating it over and over and over again. And as I walked across the street, on the other side of the road is a church. In front of the church is a statue of a Mother Mary. And once I saw the statue of Mother Mary, somebody else was in charge. I had
Mm,
about 3 minutes of sweating and shaking and chills and shaking, and it was just an out of body experience that if somebody was to tell me it happened, I wouldn't believe it. And as I'm going through my walk, I'm just kind of shaking it out like, whoa, what was that? And not until 40 minutes later that I got to the second question. And it's not a hard question. The second question was, what am I excited about? And the answer came again. I'm excited about my future. I'm excited about my future. I'm excited about my future. Now, I just lost my job. I had no
mhm.
income coming in, and here I am excited about my future. Now, I was ready to finish my walk and go home, and I stopped. I said, okay, something just happened there. You can't
Mhm.
act like that was a normal walk because it wasn't. So that's a decision right then and there that we can either choose to embrace or not. I
Yeah.
choose to embrace it. And I went back to the Mother Mary. I put my hand on their head. I looked up. I said, I wasn't looking for a sign, but if this is it, I will follow your lead. And I realized in that moment, God had appointed me to go in this direction. That He appointed me that, okay, it's time to pull up the bootstraps and become the best you can possibly be, because there's going to be people out there waiting for you to help them. And
Mm,
I realized when you become a business owner, you sign an unwritten contract to become the best you could possibly be
mhm.
because your purveyors, your clients, your customers, your team are all going to be relying on you to create a successful business because you're creating not only wealth and abundance for you, but to them also. And it also made me realize that wealth creation is a byproduct and getting everyone else what they want. So that day, God touched me on the shoulder at the age of 54, say, okay, you're looking for an answer? Here's the answer. So I was fortunate to get clear on my why from day one. I went home, picked up the phone, I called my ML, I'm good to go. That was it. So a little bit more of an answer than you expected, huh?
No, it's awfully powerful. The idea that, you can take such an interesting approach to understanding yourself in a situation as opposed to blaming and falling in line with what everybody else wants you to do. You found something that and again, I love the point of power stuff, but you found something that you can take ownership of, be accountable for your actions and responsible for the outcomes because so many different people end up relying on you. You have to be the best. So you have to step into that world and you have to learn it. You have to be able to adjust and understand how you contribute the best to somebody else's abilities. That's the interesting thing that I love about being a coach is it's never about me. It's about how I can help somebody solve a problem. Like
Yes.
my why is I love solving problems and making a better way of doing something. So I find it so natural to fall in line with, okay, tell me your story and tell me what you're trying to get accomplished and tell me why you want to do it and what's your ultimate end game. All right, that's a puzzle. Let's figure this out. And if we can figure it out together, now there's a strategic roadmap that I get to hold you accountable to make sure that progress is inevitable. Like we are going to be successful. We just have to follow this plan. To me, that's the most enjoyable part of what we do. So I love the fact that it took you these questions that kind of frame your brain into exactly where I needed to be. Again, it's not for you, it's for those that are touching you and around you because you have a talent. And the ability to do what we do is different than what most people believe. And what I believe we do helps people. That's just my
Oh,
thought process.
absolutely. There's no
Yeah.
question. And the first step is Angie Fairbanks, who was a CEO of Action Coach back then. When I was new coach, she goes, "Well, who's your number one client?" I'm like, "Angie, I don't have any clients." She goes, "No, you have one. It's you." So we got to coach ourselves first, learn, study, master, teach. We're not teaching theory, we're teaching stuff that works. So we learn it, we study it, we master it ourselves, and then we teach it to our clients because we know it works. So the first person to work on is us being our best. And then we could just reflect that energy and wisdom and everything we've learned to our clients. And we know it
Yeah.
works because it's worked for us.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yes.
It's good.
So
Okay.
I noticed the bison when we first Scott and I met. For anyone who doesn't know, there was an action coach call a few months ago, and I saw the bison, and I'm like, okay. I figured naturally because the hockey playoffs were about to play, and I just figured he was a Buffalo fan, and I was
Yeah.
incorrect. So tell me about the bison.
It's one of those things, Michael, I believe it's a really good image and it stands for something that it's a really cool story. When I was looking through different ways to understand what it is that we do as coaches, it's helping people through those pressure points, helping people through understanding the highs and the lows and what do we need to do to get pushing forward so we don't stop. And I've stumbled across a podcast where a gentleman was telling the story. What is the difference between a cow and a buffalo? And it turns out that both cows and buffalo sitting on the plains can detect when a storm is coming. And the difference is a cow, through whatever it's going to do, doesn't understand that the storm is coming and it's always going to be there. So the cow tries to run from it. It exhausts all its energy, all its time trying to avoid the storm, and eventually will collapse because it's so exhausted it can't outrun the storm anymore. On the other side of the equation is a buffalo, where a buffalo knows through its smart, its strength, its effort. All it has to do is turn and charge directly into the storm, meet it head on, and through its strength and its power and its intelligence knows if I can meet this storm head on, I'll get through it faster, and on the other side, I'll be stronger for it. And then when I get to the other side, there's this abundance of green grass and water that the storm brought. So instead of being a cow and letting things happen to you, I encourage my people that I coach and work with to charge the storm and be the buffalo. Go after what's necessary to be different and don't allow situations to dictate your outcome. That's what it stands for, to be a buffalo. I love it.
Love it.
It's a great story, and it's a good story of perseverance and trying to go from point A to point B through one more effort. Just get through that perturbation, get through and to the other side, because that's where all the fun is, right?
Yeah,
I like
the
that.
magic is in what you're avoiding. So instead of avoiding it, just head right into it, and you'll get through it a lot quicker. And the other side, the sun's shining, where versus a cow is in it a lot longer,
Yep.
and the bison gets stronger, and the cow gets weaker, and then eventually ends up. Actually, I had ribeyes for dinner the other night, so I think that's where they landed.
Yeah, yeah, it's good though. The symbolism is great, and obviously you've got a looks like a rhino or two in the shelving behind you. So you obviously have some connection to a very strong animal. What's the connection to rhinoceros?
Yeah, back in when I was a financial advisor, Scott, in 2000, when we had the dot-com bubble, if there's any young listeners, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. For any older listeners, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anything with a dot-com, the stocks were going crazy. And then March of 2000, the market just imploded and it just got crushed. And then 2 years later, you had 9/11. You throw that into the mix, and there's a lot of emotion going on. And I, as an advisor, was not having much fun. Going to work and having people scream at you, they're
Hmm.
losing money. It was not a lot of fun. And somewhere along the line, I have no idea where I found it or who gave it to me, but I found this book called Rhinoceros Success, which was written by a gentleman when he was in his 20s. And it
Oh,
was
wow.
the book was more of a metaphor. If you look at a rhinoceros, the rhinoceros has very thick skin, so nothing can penetrate it. The ears always point big and pointed outwards, so the ears are almost like antennas, sensing the vibrations around them, picking up the vibrations of opportunity. The eyes are always pierced forward, and the nostrils, when a rhinoceros smells opportunity, it charges it down. And if I was to ask anybody, if you had a 2,000 pound rhino charging at you, would you stand there or you get out of the way? You would get out of the way. So the metaphor is when a rhino sees the opportunity, it charges it down. Now, does adversity pop up? Hell yeah. But rhino's got 2 inch thick skin. It takes torpedoes to knock our ass down. And even when we get knocked down, we get right back up and keep charging it down. So when I found that book and then I became a coach, that was a book I took in, I read again. And that's the first book my clients get because my clients have to be rhinos to be a client of mine because I want them to understand that, listen, you're on the life of being an entrepreneur and it doesn't
Yep.
go straight up on a nice, smooth line. You're going to get hit with torpedoes now and then, but you just need to brush your knees off and get right back up, be clear on your destination, and charge it down. So, yeah, I have 13 rhinos in my office, and I only bought one of them. So I have rhino socks, rhino ties. Clients give me rhino gifts. I have a
Love
rhino
it.
award that one of my clients get, and I tell you, first time I presented the Rhino Award, the first person who got it, everybody in the room was like, "Whoa!" So they know if there's a Rhino Award on their desk in their office, everybody around them knows that they're a badass.
Love it. They're a badass. And I would agree it takes a badass mentality to be a business owner, right? We know this, we deal with it every day, but I want you to explain to the audience what is it about being a coach that allows people to thrive in the world of creating badasses, right? Because I think there's a misunderstanding that business owners are the smartest people in the room. Business owners are the most capable people in the room. Business owners are so successful because they're lucky. What is it about those myths that you'd like to talk about?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, a non-entrepreneur business owner cannot have a logical conversation with an entrepreneur business owner. they're two different brains.
Hmm.
People only see when we're on top. Oh my God,
Hmm.
Tom Brady is such a good quarterback. What I wouldn't do to be able to throw the ball like him. No, if you wanted to throw the ball like him, you would have done what he done to get there.
Hmm.
So people only see us on the mountaintop. They're not willing to put them just like the bison and the rhino, not willing to head into the storm and take on the challenges and go outside their comfort zone and make the tough decisions and do what it takes to become the entrepreneur. Um, it's when you hang with a group of entrepreneurs that are all guided about accomplishing their goals and doing whatever it takes, they think that everyone should think like us. And I
Hmm.
remind them, I said, well, no, we're the minority. We are not the majority. Everyone does not think like us. Everyone isn't willing to take the risk. When I became a coach, I had to look at myself first. Each client I coach is the first thing we need to look in is the mirror. How am I showing up? Am I willing to own it, good and bad? Am I
Hmm.
willing to address my blind spots? Am I willing to let a coach ask me those questions that I'm not really willing to answer? So there's a lot of places we're going to have to go. And if the coach is the person that can get you wherever you want, if you're willing to
Yeah.
do the work and if you're willing to take your guard down to open up and receive it. So it's a delightful journey. I mean, I get paid to take my clients outside their comfort zone and ask them very difficult questions. But when they answer those questions and all of a sudden their head tilts, you know they
Hmm.
just had an epiphany and let the truth will set you free when they become conscious of what is holding them back. Now they can address it. Then we can talk about creating a plan. And each time that happens, you're just growing a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you can. I've had a client tell me once. He goes, "Coach, this is really weird. An old friend of mine that I went to college with got married, and I went to his wedding this weekend. It was really weird." I said, "Like, what was weird?" He goes, "They were all different." I said, what do you mean different?" "Well, they were different." I said, "No, Eric, they weren't different. They were the same. You're different. You have been working on yourself with me as your coach for 3 years. You've
Yeah.
done a ton of work to become the leader you need to be, the business owner you need to be, the husband you need to be, and develop all these qualities, be more assertive with your time and direction and conversations and more intentional. You've created such a gap between you and them. Though you changed, they different. And that's the gap you've created by
Yeah.
being the entrepreneur, doing the work they're not willing to do.
Yeah. I love the idea of the gap between somebody willing to put themselves on the line and do something versus those that love the status quo. If you were to pull out what's the most impactful, most successful thing that you have seen and witnessed in your clients that lead them to be successful, what is the one, and I'm sure there's more than one, but what is the one thing that stands out? Like once this happens, once somebody understands or whatever, impact, what is that one thing that somebody has that makes them successful?
Commitment.
Uh,
A lot of people say, "Oh, coach, I'm committed. I'll do whatever it takes." My answer is usually, "We'll see."
mm. Okay, this is the chicken and the pig when it comes to breakfast, right? You ever heard that story?
Oh, yes. And the pig is fully committed, the chicken is half committed. And if you ever went to some restaurant or some of those hotels, they have that powdered stuff.
It's not even
That
you're right.
it's neither.
It's not even egg. So, all right, I like the idea of commitment because it sets up the stage for a lot of things to cascade from, right? So you're committed to the program, you're committed to the work, you're committed to yourself and the improvement that needs to be made. You're
That's
committed
that's the
to,
big one, Scott. You're committed to yourself.
yeah,
I tell my clients, I'm not doing this for me. Tell me what you want, and I'm going to
Yeah.
help you get it. Will you always enjoy the process? No. Will it get you where you need to be? Yes, if you're committed to doing what it takes to get there.
So what is it that you do, Coach Michael, when somebody's commitment isn't there? How do you handle that?
I'll challenge them.
Hmm?
Whatever. A very interesting conversation I had with a young entrepreneur last Friday he was put on the hot seat. He bought a company 4 months ago, and people say, so what do you need help with? He goes, well, I have the office manager that came with the company. She has a good relationship with everybody, but over the last 4 months, she has degressed. And based on the salary I'm paying her, um, she's not fulfilling her role. So I want to talk to everybody about how I let her go. And everybody started asking questions and chiming in. And I
Hmm.
said, I'm curious, have you sat down and had an authentic conversation with that woman when she's anywhere in the last 4 months of how you could be allies and what she needs from you to continue being that person to help you guide this
Hmm.
company in the right direction? It's like, no. So you haven't had a conversation with it all? No. And I said, first of all, let me be clear that if anyone digresses on your watch, it's not them, it's you. And so my question is, why are you avoiding a conversation that you need to have that this person could be your greatest ally to run the show,
Yeah.
who's already been running the show, that can help you get to the next level? And he's like, well, yeah, I'm afraid what might happen. I'm like, and
Hmm.
your solution is just to fire her.
Hmm.
Interesting. So I slow down and ask the questions to make them realize, like, that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. And then it's up to them to own it or not own it. They might go in denial, like no, or they might just avoid a conversation with me because that coach is going to get me to do something I should do, but I really don't want to do. So I'm just going to do it my way and not follow them. And they'll find
Yep.
out the hard way. We all had kids, and we know how that works. Giving them life lessons before they actually experience them themselves. So I slow down and start asking them questions. I don't tell them. They have to realize it and say, oh, coach, that makes no sense. I said, I didn't think so. I was just asking the question. Why don't you tell me? And now they could start going through the process of filtering it through.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. The idea of um, easy does not live here. Easy is not part of this program. And if you're going to be committed to whatever your dream is, whatever you've said the final point of your business will be, it's not going to be easy unless you make it easy. And here's my point. If you do the work, you commit yourself to the program, you commit yourself to being a different person. And as you said earlier, jumping out of your comfort zone. None of that is easy, but it becomes so much easier when you decide to do it and commit to the idea that I have to be a better, different version of myself in order to make this happen. Once that once that happens in somebody's brain, the rest of it is easy. But it's getting over that initial hump and not allowing the pressure to stop you. It's getting over that and moving forward. That's where I think the real magic is. And that's what I love about what we do is we help people get over that stuff, right?
No doubt. It's the most satisfying ride in your life
Yeah.
as you go through a journey of consistently overcoming adversity and growing and helping others and making an impact, the best ride of your life. You're consistently growing.
Yeah.
Who doesn't
Yeah.
want that?
Well, there's a word that you used. I want to make sure that the audience and anybody else listening or watching gets a chance to sink their teeth into. Authentic. You said, have you sat down to have an authentic conversation? And I pulled the word authentic out of there because in order for this program to work, there has to be two people authentically involved in this committed program. If you're not authentic, meaning you're telling me the real story, you're telling me what you really feel, you're telling me what you really want, and you're breaking down the barriers in order to be vulnerable, that's the person that really thrives in the program. Somebody who has a hard time being honest with themselves, that's the person that has a hard time with this program because they're not honest. They're not authentic. They need to get over that. What are your thoughts?
And I work with the discs, the behavioral assessments too. And as you know, C's and D's are task oriented and C's and D's are guarded. So
Hmm.
knowing that you have a C or a D in the realm, you know there's going to be guarded. And then we as coaches have to earn the right to gain their trust, to have them open up and go through the behavioral analysis so they can understand their behavior, where they might be sabotaging their success, not even knowing it. And
Hmm.
it's just a patience of going through that process. And again, if they're committed, they'll open up and let you in. And if they're not, they won't. And we'll know.
Yeah. And what I believe happens through all this, authentic, yes, that's how we connect, that's how we relate, right? Commitment, that's how we get things done. But the end result of this whole process is giving people a very strong sense of confidence in themselves, in their information, in their team, so they can build something that has merit rather than hoping in a prayer, hoping and trying to get things done on a wing and a prayer with no dedicated outcome. But if you really do spend the time to be this authentic person and you have the commitment, you'll build the confidence in yourself to be the best decision maker. You'll build the confidence in yourself to be an amazing boss, to be an amazing business person. And then you take that life lesson or the business lesson into your life, or do it the other way, become a much better person that ends up being a really good business person. So that's the two sides of the same coin that
Yes.
I like about what we do, right, Michael? Is
And yeah, absolutely.
we're life coaches with a business spin. We're somebody that stands with you and helps you guide yourself through the right decisions and all the things you need to do. But it's all about building confidence in yourself. And what we do gives people a chance to really take a step back and realize I'm making progress and I'm being a lot better at this because I have somebody that's in my corner.
Yes. And what happens is I tell my clients, I say, you end up coaching your team like I'm coaching you and you're being
Mhm.
coached. And the more you grow, the more your energy is shining on the outside and your client, your team picks up on it. I learned something early. The first year of business, I lost a brother 7 months into suicide, and it really rocked my boat and sent me down in not a good direction. And I got a coach and worked myself up. And a coach that I immediately, when I spoke to when I was thinking about buying the business, that really stood out was one of the top coaches in the organization. And I called her up one day. I had a question about something. I can't remember what it was. And the first thing she said, she goes, "Where have you been?" I said, "What do you
Mhm.
mean, where have I been?" She goes, "Where have you been?" So, I had my brother commit suicide. I was in a pretty bad place. I was kind of messed up. You're one of the top coaches. I didn't want to bother you. I didn't want to, take your time. And Scott, she lit me up like a Christmas tree. She goes, "You what? You were suicidal and you didn't call me? Do you have my
Mhm.
cell number?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I don't care if it's freaking 2 o'clock in the morning. You're in a bad spot. You call me. I got your back. You get that?" And I'm like, "Whoa.
Mhm.
That's a coach.
Well,
Wow."
changes the relationship. When people bring their personal lives into the business relationship, they're afraid to do it. But once it happens, it opens up such a different pathway for conversation because now we know behind the curtain what's happening, and we can be that life coach with the business twist. We can be that comrade in arms where we can help you. Not that we're going to have all the answers, but we're at least going to do what we can to build your confidence to make the right decisions by guiding you through, like you said, the couple questions that you need to ask yourself and the couple things you need to do to guide yourself into making better decisions and having a better situation for yourself. So, yeah, I thank you for sharing the story. I know it's not easy to share that, but it's interesting that you had somebody in your corner that was willing to take that dive for you. And obviously, that's something that you do with your clients. So clearly, it works.
Yeah, no doubt. Because, we're going to be coaching somewhere along the line some high level executives. And those executives, here's an interesting story. I belong to a networking group with a bunch of attorneys. And I went to the group one day. It's lunchtime, and they go, "How you doing, coach?" And I'm like, "Awesome." They go, "What do you mean, awesome? Um awesome?" I said, "Well,
Mm.
you can't always be awesome." I'm like, why not? "Well, don't you ever have a bad day?" I said, "Yeah, I have bad days." She goes, and he goes, "Well, you would never know it." I said, "You're right. You would never know it. I don't vent down or across. I vent up to my coaches. I get my crap out with my coaches so I can be back on
Mm.
my A game for everybody else. So when we're
It's a good one.
leaders, coaches, running an organization, a high level executive, you don't have the right to go to your team and say, "Hey, team, I'm having a bad day today, so take it easy on me." They're gonna be like, "What? Get out of here! I got work to do." So
Yep.
these high level people, and sometimes they have their guard up. They need somebody to get their stuff out with, and we're the guys and gals that get their stuff out with, so we can put them back where they need to be on their A game, so they can be an asset to their organization, their customers, and their team,
Mm.
and
Perfect
their family, of
example.
course.
No, that's perfect explanation of what it is that happens in that relationship. So again, thanks for sharing. You're going to be shocked to realize we've been talking for more than half an hour and we're almost done. So I wanted to say thank you for being on the program. And any final words? We've got like 2.5 minutes. Any last words?
Last words is, we're only here for a short period.
Mm.
God gives us an unlimited supply of whatever we want in this world, if we're ready to receive it and willing to do the work to go get it. So believe in yourself, think big, function tactically, time is your ally. Never doubt yourself. If you're going to doubt one thing, doubt the fact that you cannot be successful, because you can. Make a decision where you're going, get the right people in your circle, and just keep on keeping on. Be the bison, be the rhino,
There it is.
pick your
Love it.
animal, charge forward, have fun doing it, and you won't even recognize yourself 6 months to a year from now.
Love that. You won't recognize yourself 6 months or a year from now because you're a completely different person. You've shed all the stuff that's been pulling you down, and now you're looking forward with your ears up like antenna, your eyes forward, and you're smelling every opportunity to charge after. Love it. Coach Mike, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see
Thank you for
everybody.
having me. Been a
Yeah,
great conversation.
we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Be well.